Hey, beautiful souls. This is Teniqua Denise. Welcome to Queen's Elevation Station with Teniqua Denise. We had challenges. We had arguments. We had difficult. We even little fights. You said fights?
Yeah, it wasn't fights. It was like it was an argument.
Yeah, serious arguments. Yeah. We had to learn each other, and we took the time to learn each other. But here's the thing. So today we are talking about spousal support, personally and professionally. And I have a special guest, my life partner, husband, best friend, lover, all of the above.
Yeah.
LES, Lower East Side. My husband, he is joining us today because we are talking about spousal support, personally and professionally. And what better way to bring in this topic than to bring my partner who provides spousal support. So we're going to be just talking about our journey together to hopefully inspire someone out there and let y'all know it's not always perfect, but it's real, and that's all that matters. Let's just jump right in. We're going to jump in.
Feet first.
Feet first? Okay.
Feet or head?
So, let's go back to 2016, 16.
Oh my goodness, that's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago. But we're going to go back there. And at that time, I was, 35. About 35 years old in 2015. And I was a single mom. I had a very demanding career with the city of New York. Loved my career, worked really hard to get to my position as a manager. So definitely was focused on my career. I was sick of men and their shenanigans. I was just focused on me. And prior to us meeting, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I had decided to just literally pour into me. Like, I was done dating. I was just like, let me do all the things I need to do for me. I was getting healthy. I was eating good. I was feeling good. I was actually, when we met, I was with my homegirl, Say. Shout out to you, Say, if you're watching. We was with Aaron.
A was the bartender.
A was the bartender. And I was just hanging out with friends. And I went out with my homegirl. And we were having a couple of cocktails, and I looked across the bar, and I was like...
She had that twinkle in her eye.
I did. I was like, who's that? Who is that?
I had that fresh cut. I just got off work, had that fresh lineup from the Dominican cat out there, and I was just sitting there at the bar just chilling. And I seen her coming from the bathroom, and I was like, who is this? Right, because when I left to go to the bathroom, there was nobody there. And then when I came back, he was sitting there. And I was just like, oh, we got company. Because it was a Sunday afternoon. It was a very slow day. So I sat down, and I thought he was very handsome. And I was like, hi. I said hello first. I spoke first. Okay. He hates to admit that. Because I like to say I bagged him, I guess. But nah, I spoke first. And the reason I wanted to mention that is because I do see a lot of conversations about how women, deal with dating and approaching men when they're out and about with their girls or alone and blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. There are no rules, right? Do what feels right and do it classy. So I, of course, had some... what they call it, liquid courage. And I was just like, hello. Just a simple word, like, hey, how you doing? And he spoke back, and then we just started talking. She said, what's your name? What's your name? I told her my name, and we started talking. Then she said, what's your name? Oh, goodness. I said, oh, man. But that didn't stop me from talking to her, because she was pretty. She had a Brooklyn Nets hoodie on, black hoodie, with some blue jeans and some heels. I said, look at this thing here.
He's so old school. So yes, it was a very chill day. And looking back on it now, it definitely was just things lining up that I would never even know at that time, right? So what were you doing at that time? Like, I know I was single. I was
single. I was out of a relationship. I was living by myself and just trying to figure things out. And I prayed to God that the next woman, that I date or whatever, I wanted her to be something else. And that's what I got.
Whoa. Okay.
And when God answered my prayers, I laughed. I was like, God, you funny. He said, well, that's what you asked for. So my thing is, when you pray for something, and God presents it to you, don't back up, don't back away, because that's what you prayed for. And my prayers were answered.
Okay, amen. Yes, you got to acknowledge those prayers and don't run from them, right? Don't run. So you said you were single, technically single.
I was single technically, but I was legally still married.
Good.
What, you listening?
I'm listening.
Yeah, no, I was still legally married to my first wife, and I don't think at that time I even had explored divorce or anything like that until we met.
Of course, because I wasn't having it. I was like, okay.
And after we were dating for a while, we explored divorce, how to go about it, and I actually did it myself. That worked out. And after the divorce was final, things.
Don't rush. No, you speeding up. Don't go too fast. Okay. You speeding up. So here's the thing. I know there has also been conversations. This is a very popular conversation about women who date married men, who are separated or going through something. However you want to, frame it. For me personally, the only reason I considered dating him, seeing him, exploring a connection with him is because him and his wife have been separated, like living in different states, living completely different lives for years. Like, I was not the first girlfriend after their split, right? Like, he had relationships, he was dating, seeing people after they split up. So when I came along, he was legally married, but literally separated to the point where he left no room for, is it possible they can reconciliate? Right. No possibilities of reconciliation. So I know sometimes men present themselves like, yeah, I'm married, but we not getting along. I sleep in a different bedroom. We're not doing that. Nah. Right? No, we're not doing that. Been there, done that, but that's for another conversation, right? But with him, he had his own space. He was living by himself, and him and his wife had not lived together for years. And he dated after that. I do not ever want to be, at that time, the woman that you date after you leave your wife. Like, because you never know. They may reconciliate. They may figure out they want to be together. It's a very risky situation. But for me personally, I do not date married men. I did not date married men back then. However, because of his specific...
You made an exception.
I made an exception because of your circumstance, honestly. So.
And you had that twinkle in your eye when you first met me.
And I still got it. I still got that twinkle in my eye. That's
what I like.
So we met, right? We met, and I told, part of me dating, even though I was like kind of done with relationships, but I was like, I can date, I can meet somebody and hang out. When we were hanging out, one of our first conversations, I was like, I'm moving to North Carolina. And why did I share that with him? Obviously, I saw something in him that possibly could go further, but we had decided we would just be friends. However, I wanted him to know my plans because I was adamant. I was leaving New York City. As much as my career was thriving, as much as I had a connection, like a network, I had friends, I had family, I knew my time was up in New York, and I needed to share that because some men that I had dated was like, oh, I would never leave New York. So imagine wanting to move out of New York or out of wherever you live, and the person that you date is like, oh, I'm not leaving here. Does that sound like somebody you should pursue a relationship with? No. They're not. I mean, the topic of the show is spousal support, right? Personally and professionally. So if I want to move out of New York and you don't, that's conflict initially off the gate, off the bat, right? So it was very nice to hear that when I said I'm moving out of New York. What did you say? Do you remember what you said to me?
I said, let's go. 2 words.
Period.
That's
like, let's go. And he had already lived out of New York. So this was not his first time. This wouldn't have been his first time moving out, right? Like he had lived in Virginia. You lived anywhere else? That was just it? Just Virginia? So he lived in Virginia. So he had already experienced what it was like to move out of New York, and he knew what it was. So I was like, okay, let's move forward. So I mentioned that because, ladies, when you are dating, date with intention, right? Have your standard. And when you have your standard, it's okay to share it because you will see where a person's mindset is. And his mindset was open to move, was open to change, was open to, right, a new life. So, check. But was that like me jumping? Like, I didn't jump overboard at that point.
No, you didn't jump overboard because, see, what people got to understand is what you put out there in the universe, it will come back to you some way, somehow. And I think I remember mentioning this to you, how I had said I think it was time for me to get out of New York or leave New York in one of my Facebook posts or something like that.
Yes.
And so when you presented that, it was like, let's go. Like, it's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We didn't, like, we had a plan. And I think at that time, we were already, we were saving money together, and but we didn't know what it was for. We were just saving money, like the $5,000 plan thing.
Oh no, we knew what it was for. I have the paper. It was to move.
Oh, it was to move?
Yes.
Okay.
Once we decided, we were living together at that point. He moved in with me to my co-op. And we had been talking about a future at that point because we're not living together just to live together. Like when we decided to live together, we decided we were going to be together. We decided that this was a relationship that we would take seriously. He wasn't a cheater. He made that very clear. He wasn't into the shenanigans, and neither was I. So he moved in, and then it was like, okay, we're making decent money. Let's create a plan. I came across this document. It's like a spreadsheet, and it was like, it wasn't 5,000. It was, I think it was 15. It was like save 15,000 in a year, and I was like, how? Okay, so every week it broke down what you save, right? You probably saw this because it went pretty viral back then. I don't even think viral was a thing in 2015, 16, but it did. And I came across it, and we started saving. So one week maybe save 100. Next week, save $250. Next week, save $50, $75. But it's how many weeks in a year? 52. 52 weeks in a year. So 52 weeks. After 52 weeks, the total, if you had saved everything, would equate to the $15,000. And I put on that piece of paper, this is, our moving money. We're going to move, and this is the savings in order to make that happen. So we did that in a shoebox. Didn't we save it in a shoebox?
Yep.
We took it back. We took it back, way back. But it was convenient. He understood the assignment. And guess what, ladies? The fact that he was so committed and he showed up every Friday with that money, I was like, check. So now we got 2 checks. We got probably more than that because you fixed the fridge door and there was other stuff. He was doing what he needed to do. In the midst of learning each other, like, did we have obstacles and things, challenges we went through? Absolutely. However, the pros outweighed the cons, and I was keeping note. I was paying attention because, like I said, I wasn't even trying to date. I was focused on moving in my career. So I wanted to move. You was down with it. We're dating now. We're living together. And guess what? He's going to come down south with me. You're going to see why I want to move, right? I got grandparents down there. I got brothers down there. More greenery, more space, just a different type of life. Yep. So we went. And how did you feel about visiting and that process when we were filling it out?
Oh, it was great. Because that first year that I think we were dating, I think we did the train, plane, automobile saga with mommy. And it was cool. And I think we came down, we went to Wilmington Christmas, and the weather was beautiful.
Beautiful.
The weather was like, oh my goodness.
We walked on the beach. December, we were on the beach in December.
And we were thinking about moving out that way to Wilmington. We realized that them houses out there just were a little bit too much.
But before we even decided to move, we were visiting, right? Yeah. We were feeling the lay of the land. We were, I wanted him to meet my family because we're still dating at this point, right? Yeah. So this is a process. I do not want to make it seem like it was all roses and beautiful, right? Like we had challenges. We had arguments. We had difficult. We even, little fights. You said fights?
Yeah, it wasn't fights. It was an argument.
Serious arguments. Yeah. We had to learn each other, and we took the time to learn each other. But here's the thing: in the midst of those challenges, learning each other, all of the above, right? No one strayed outside of the relationship.
No, why?
No one quit. No one, I think we broke up for like a day, maybe. One time. And I called him. I was like, I miss you. He was like, I miss you too. And then we got back together. So that was that. Okay. Once again, ladies, it's okay to be the first one to call, because guess what? You get to see where his mind is at. So if you call and he's like, oh no, I'm good, or he don't answer, then move on. But he answered and he admitted he missed me too. So we reconnected. Voila. Right. So let's talk about the support thing, right? So
the spousal support.
Spousal support. Usually those are terms people speak of when they're getting divorced.
Yeah.
Right? You got to pay spousal support. But if you want to avoid that, you need to do some spousal support. You need to support your spouse, right? In what? In career and everything. In personal endeavors and their career, you need to support that person and have their back. Yep. And that could lead to a beautiful union where you build a beautiful life together. It could happen, but it's about supporting one another. And that's what we did. How did we do it? Where did it start? Well, can I just say for starts, right? So we decided to move to North Carolina. His job allowed him to transfer. And he was like, well, if we're going to move, I got to transfer. I got to put it in. And when it comes, I got 30 days to move. And that's what he did. And then he got that notification and was like, I got to go in 30 days. And I was like, right? I'm not going to lie. That was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. But we once we knew we were moving, we started the process of getting boxes, going to Home Depot, Lowe's, getting a hand truck, making sure we had the truck set up and everything. And then we had decluttered before then. And then we packed up the house. We had stuff packed up in the living room already.
Because we had to sell, take into consideration, I owned that co-op. So it wasn't like, oh, you just move out. No, I had to sell it. We had to fix it up so that it could be sellable. We had to leave the house when there were showings. It was a whole thing. But here's the thing. He supported my dream of moving. I supported the fact that he was going to transfer and have to leave immediately. I didn't have a job because I had a career in New York City, right? I was with city government, and at the end of the day, that's not transferable. You can't. Unfortunately, if I could have, I would have, but I could not take my job with me. So I was moving with nothing new. Nothing. I had to start from scratch. Think about it. I had started with the city in 2002. Yeah, 2002. Have been with the city ever since. In 2016, I decided I had to walk away in order to start a new life. That was a very huge decision. And guess who supported me? And he wasn't even my spouse at that point. He was just, okay? But these are the things we need to pay attention to, sis. I think a couple of days ago, real quick, I don't know if you saw it, hon, but there was a video of Tyler Perry. I think he was talking to Oprah. I think it was Oprah. Don't quote me. But anyway, basically he was saying that ladies should consider not just worrying about a man's riches. Like, it's okay if your man is not making more than you. If you are the breadwinner, it's okay. It's not about that. Like, it's about finding somebody whose moral compass is sound and aligned with yours, right? Because a lot of women's like, oh, I make this, you make that. Yeah, I'm he's not for me, or he doesn't bring enough home, and you miss out on amazing men.
Mm-hmm. Miss out on the bigger picture.
Okay, so
there's a lot of money. It's a lot of things that money can't that can't buy. Money
Facts.
Can't bring you.
Facts.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Facts, and that's what it was. So he was working on transferring his job. He supported this idea at the time. It was just an idea of us moving to a whole nother state with me basically unemployed. A little money in the bank, but basically unemployed. And he held me down. He did not waver. He did not fuss. It was like, your faith was just as strong as mine.
It is.
Support. That's supporting somebody's dream and not being naive to it, but looking at how somebody moves, right? Like, he saw how I move, so he knew he could sign up for this, right? Yeah. I don't want to talk for you. Is that what made you say, okay, let's do this?
Because we move by faith, not by sight.
Facts. But what about me? Did you see in me that you knew you could move by faith?
Because I knew you handle your business.
Oh.
You
pay attention.
You handle your business in a way that, I haven't seen in a long time, or, women or my woman, but people in general. And the way you handle your business, you cross your T's, you dot your I's, and you because of what you did in New York, you analyze everything.
Yes. Definitely an analyst. I broke it down.
You analyze everything. You break it down. So once I saw that, I said, you know what? Things is going to be okay. Because when we packed up the house and put it in the truck and moved down here, we didn't have anywhere. We didn't have anywhere to live.
Right.
And then what you did? You asked your grandparents?
I did. So here's another thing on faith. Because I wanted to support my future spouse. I asked my grandparents, who did not know less from a hole in the wall, maybe had met him once or twice. I said, listen, we are trying to move to North Carolina. He has to start his job on this date. I have to finish working until I close on the house. So can he stay here? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. And the reason I can't speak for them, but, we've had conversations about it. Once again, they knew who I was, and they knew I would not bring anybody to them. No riffraff. I don't know. It's kind of amazing, because even though they know who I was, they could have been like, oh, absolutely not. Right? They could have. But look at God. Look at God.
They love me to pieces. Grandma
was cooking for him. If he was late, she would call me all the way in Brooklyn and be like, Lester's not home yet. It's raining really hard. Have you tried calling him? And I used to just be like, yes, Grandma, I called him. He's good. He'll be there soon. But she used to have a hot meal waiting for him, a nice country meal. And, you paid your dues. You gave him some bread.
I think I gained 20 pounds.
Oh, you definitely gained some weight. I mean, we talk about turkey necks, collard greens.
Oh, my goodness.
Right? Spaghetti. All the above.
All the above.
Yeah, it was dope.
Fried chicken. Here go Grandpa. Eat up. Let's eat up.
Eat up.
Like, Grandpa, I can't eat all this.
I thought that was Grandpa who used to be like, eat up.
Yeah, that was Grandpa.
Yeah, that was Grandpa.
Grandpa used to sit in this chair. He'd be sitting in this chair. Let's eat up. Let's eat up.
So he was well taken care of.
Oh, yeah.
And I was in New York sweating and hustling. Because this was in the summertime. And I was hot. Oh, so we sold the co-op. I moved in with my mom. Shout out to Mommy, because she was like, come on, baby. Come on in. I know what you got going on, and I got your back. So we had support, not only from each other, but from our village. It really took a village. Not to only raise a child, but to live, like, this life that we were building. It's amazing. Like, it really is dope. So he moved in. I was still in New York. So here we go with a long-distance relationship for, like, a few months. It It was not even difficult. I'm not even gonna lie. It wasn't difficult for me.
It wasn't difficult.
I was going back and forth. We had not found a home yet, mind you. When you moved into Grandma's house, there was no house. Yeah. We were still looking.
Yeah, because we look back. As a matter of fact, remember Kiki? We picked up Kiki on our way going down to North Carolina.
Who's Kiki?
My daughter.
Our daughter. My bonus baby. She's not a baby. She's a grown woman.
Not a baby. But
she's a grown woman.
But what's so crazy is when we left, because mommy flew down when we came down to North Carolina, and this development was the first development that we looked into when
you have a better mememory of this than I do.
When we first moved down here,
many houses.
When we started looking at houses before we got with the realtor, this was the first development.
Yeah.
And look where we at.
Right here.
Right here.
Look at God. I have to give it all up to God. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I always say, like I said in a live about manifestation, God will do his part, but you got to do yours. You got to do yours. And us supporting one another created this life that we both really, really wanted. And support is underestimated. Like, I would rather be single than with somebody who doesn't have my back, that doesn't believe in my dreams, because they're bringing you down. You need to be with somebody who literally lifts you up and you could build a life with, because they believe in your dreams. Even though they can't see it, they got faith, because faith is what? Something you can't see.
You can't see.
But so is fear. But you got to choose a side, and we always
pick a side.
We always choose faith. We always choose faith. Yeah. So, can we get back to this divorce? Because let me tell y'all something. I don't want to make it seem like I was just cool with him being legally married, because I was not. Look at me rolling my eyes. I'm like, I'm getting flashbacks. Is it hot in here?
Let me take a sip of water.
I literally was not happy with it. But I also had faith that he was going to handle it, because I made it very clear what my expectation was. You need to handle that. And I didn't have to do a single solitary thing. He did it all because he wanted to. Once again, I supported him in handling his business by backing off and letting him handle it. I wasn't like, when you get a divorce? I had other things to worry about. My whole thing is, either you want to handle it or not, but you know me, I ain't going to deal with it for long, because if you are still married, you can't marry me, and I am marriage material. So even though listen, you can have standards and express those standards, but at the same time, be understanding and supportive to somebody that you see is aligned with the life that you want. Mm-hmm. It's a balance. It's not just black and white. And I see a lot of conversations online like, oh, if he do this, if he ain't got a car, if he ain't got a house, if he ain't doing this, I'm not. Stop being so closed-minded, sis. You are blocking your own blessings, because part of your elevation is supporting the man that you pray for. It's supporting a man that comes along that he's not perfect, but neither are you. And you acknowledge not only his imperfections, but also his strengths. So support your spouse, your future spouse. Spousal support. That's what it's about. So here's the thing. I moved here, right? We found a house and we had a closing date. And guess what happens? I come down here one time. We close to moving. We are so close to the closing date. It's like real at this point. And I come down for a visit, because I was coming back and forth. Don't get it twisted. I was in Brooklyn, but I also was coming to visit my man and also to handle business and to look for this house that we was going to buy, right? And one time I came to visit and he was like, the divorce is final. What are you talking about? First of all, that was so far from, I'm glad I can say it now, but I was not thinking about that divorce. I'm not gonna lie. I had too many things on my plate to be, and guess what? When you have a man that's about his business, you do not have to worry, because he was keeping me in the loop on the process, right? Because it was a process. It wasn't like overnight. It must have took you how many months?
Not long.
Not long, but a couple of months, a few months. And once it was done, and he let me know it was done, and I was shocked, flabbergasted. And guess what? That was just more confirmation that this was my man. My man. Thank you to my man.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're far too kind.
Right. But this move, I don't know if you got the drift yet. This move was all about support of your partner, of us, of one another, personally and professionally. And then we moved into the house. We closed August 26, 2016, and we moved in. And it was, that's another topic for another day.
Another
right?
topic.
But we moved in, and at some point, I said it one time, I promise you, I think once, maybe you can confirm.